Guidance for the Soul Live. This topic that I haven't released was about the nature of truth-telling, or the masters of it, and how many people realize that's a loaded weapon in many people's eyes, right? If I'm looking for the truth, we often decide that people are going to have to announce their presence. Madonna was in conjunction with another soul. We're going to laugh. See, she knows who I am on a soul level, and was telling me what she herself was feeling as a soul about some of my material, and saying, oh, it was very boring now. She's getting bored of it. And that's when I decided to shake things up a bit. And she's very much of the I tell the truth how I see it, versus the reality of the world in which we vibrate. Now, when we're talking about truths, we're talking about the nature of what that means to our hearts most often. Do I want to know what everyone thinks about me? No. Do I get to hear it from people? You better believe I do. But sometimes, when I align with those beautiful visions of who they are, I'm appreciative of the critique. But it is a conundrum for many of our hearts. And this is another chapter in the book that I am producing as I am coming through and writing. And it's called The Critique Conundrum. Excuse me. Her soul's vision is to be as forthcoming in the vision of love as she can, because it's her highest vision that loves her as soul and as God in her mind. Okay, so this is why Brenda gets a little frustrated sometimes, because in essence she's of the nature of Source, which is vibrating in the beauty of all of us, whether we align with those ideas of any one vision or not, or whatever those souls who have those highest visions of what the all would look like. But they're not taking into account the ideas that many are creating with that they have proof of here. Okay, and that's why Brenda tends to stick with the soul vision, because in essence she aligns with the fact that you all are wherever you are. And so for her, she's more about, let me lift myself up to those places of wonder. But my wonder years are over. I now get my soul handed to me in various ways. And sometimes it's just hard to hear. And I want to acknowledge those that have gone through the process, or who are in the process of it. And they assume, oh, all I'm going to hear is the beauty when I cross over. And everyone will say, but we're all beauty no matter what. But if you are in the vision of I'm here to actually grow and learn, then you're going to get those experiences that help you to do that. Most of us are like, I need to learn how to have more fun at this point. I did when I was young. And then I got all serious, and then I started to go back into that nature of being free and clear of the vibration of who I was when I was bogged down in the internet. And it's true how it can bog us down, but it can also be a revealing of who we are in a way that is respectful to myself and others. So while I may have beautiful visions of love for anyone or everybody, depending on who's going to vibrate in the beauty of this session, I would say your own souls will have their own ideas about who you are to be or what you are creating. I do it often with myself and my family and friends. I know where they are. I know where I'm at. And sometimes it hurts when I'm in that more high and mighty vision of who I think I am. I can put that hat on that has me feeling very high in my mind, in the idea of I don't need to take anyone else's conditioning off of them. I'm not here to tell you there's something wrong with you, other than the idea of if your vision is somehow intruding upon the freedoms that I seek, I will usually start to lash out on a soul level. Believe it or not, I have to do that every so often. And it's more like I'm leveling the playing field for those of us who don't want to be characterized in certain ways in order for our souls to feel like we're going to make it to the next level of love. You see, some are just, oh, I'm going to bypass any work and go straight to the heavenly realms, and there I will figure it all out. And that's a beautiful place for you. What people are doing here, like I did, was a self-reflective process of love of who I was and everyone else around me as I was walking along this plane. I was always connected to my own soul's vision, but I wasn't aware of it. And that's usually where people are, is they become more aware of their own inner heavenly realm. And that vision comes to us when we can feel it as such. But it's very hard once we go to the love of all, or to the nature of I'm connecting to the source vision of who they are, right? Who they are here is not who I am. Okay, so when I give you a soul session, do you want to know where you're going, or do you want to know where you've been? How many people want to know where they've been? And then they get the reflective process. This is where a lot of people are kind of going, oh, I've been there already. Or that idea of I'm tapping into the nature of other loves of my life or lives. You see, I cross-connect with certain souls on a psychological and an intuitive level as well. I'm very much of that kind of process of utilizing the words of the day as a bouncing board for this. It's like the springboard of success. This is where I'm going. So while my soul will say, Madonna is letting me know where she is, had she been in this vision, right? It's another parallel reality that I vibrate in. It's why I also get my future handed to me. And it's why my soul has been beautiful at letting me fly free from the wisdom of his embrace. It's a male vision in some instances that I often hear from, but there are more aspects of myself that I am indeed bringing through. My source is more wise than most, let's put it that way, because that source of vision knows the gender identity is very fluid on a soul level for many. Okay? It doesn't mean I don't vibrate in the beauty of female, because that's my beauty on this plane. I don't deny it, because this is who I am and who I've always felt like. I don't place the labels other than what it feels like for me. And I want to grant that to anyone. I have so many souls around me who are going through transitions in different ways based on where they are in their lives. I will not disregard anyone's ideas of who they are. Their soul may have an idea about what's going on, but anyways, let's talk about that nature of the truth of it. Okay, there are many souls who are, oh, I'm feeling good when I'm in that vision of I'm loved, adored, and special. I also operate on that vision that I'm special. And when I say that, it's not to disregard anyone else's idea of who they are. I would grant you the same wish. Don't you want to feel special, right? Others relish the idea of I'm the same. I'm the same as another. I just beautify myself in a different way, right? We're all unique in our presentation, is where we are with Brenda. We know we combine in a united front of love of all, okay? But we have our own unique flavors of what it is to be jealous of another soul. That's where I have to go sometimes in my mind, and I'm like, I just wish I could kind of get this vision off of me, right? That feels heavy. I deal with energy source as well, so sometimes I do get, quote, attacked, right? It's my soul coming back to me from various levels, and I have to integrate that vision in to my teaching sometimes, and then go, oh, I understand where I was with that. Yes, I did do that kind of work. Yes, I did do that kind of work. I was a mean son of a gun to certain people in my life. That's where my family is as well. I am integrating their visions just as much as I am my own. I hear from their souls just as I do my own. That's how strong I am. And it doesn't mean that they're on the other side of the veil either. That's why it's a beautiful vision of love. And if I have my moments of glory, I take them. If I have my moments of doubt, I understand that vision is very doubtful that I could bring through anything on the moment. Oh my gosh. It depends on where I'm at and if I want to do that work with another soul. You see, it's not about trying to prove myself to others, but I went through that process and it can get exhausting. Trying to prove, I love you too, I love you too. This is where we often hear each other, but it's not about the like romantic connection that others necessarily think that is. It's the honoring of who we are as souls. And that means that there is a gentle touch upon the heart for anyone who knows how to do that work. It's an emotional experience for Brenda, when she hears that from somebody in her heart, okay? Because she herself knows she's tapped in to the nature of her soul as well. This is who she is. But others will hear it as a separate being, and it's because the integration is still underway for her to embody the whole enchilada. We're not doing that work. It's too painful and too process-oriented versus the joy of discovery of more aspects of who we could be here. I don't need to try to recover anybody. I'm more in that vision of let me discover more of who I am on this plane. But man, do I bring in some doozies sometimes that are hard hitters. And these are the ones that it's like I adore. But others would say, oh, they're so strong in their presentation and who they think they are. There. That's the nature of who I am. I know who I am with. I know who I love in my heart and mind. It's no one on the screen at this point in time. So this is why I tend to disconnect a lot from the ideas of male attitudes on this plane, because they can be very disregarding of the privacy in which I vibrate or in the respect for who I am as a soul who does know how to connect. And that's why most will not go to those ideas of telepathic communication or even channeling unless they're free and clear of the vibration of, I've got something to fear from somebody. Okay, you don't want to go to that place. Okay, that's why Brenda's like, oh, I think I'm okay going to the Twitter page and taking on some of those vibrations that can kind of get me a little wound up sometimes. Or I look at it from a place of neutrality most often, if I can. I have my own ideas about what's going on, or if I tap in the moment, I bring through wisdom about it. And that's the strength of it. And it can take a long time to get to where I'm at. Or some will decide I'm going to aim high and bring through the love vibration if and only if that is what comes through. I get different aspects of souls who create with me based on what I've read or what I see. And yet, I'm able to handle the disappointment that many have in various ways based on what I'm presenting on the screen. I am of love of hate. Do you want to go to that one? This is one aspect of who I am. I deny the fact that I love to hate certain aspects of certain kinds of people. Right? That's who I was. That's not who I am as a soul embodied. And so it feels very disconnecting when I align with people who are in that vibration and say, ooh, I love to hate. This is what I'm here to do so I can see what I want to see. Okay, that's the nature of what the disconnect can feel like if you're not honoring of the idea that it's normal on this plane to have feelings of love and hate. It's not a bad thing. People will assume it's a negative thing. It is what it is. How many people have been through experiences that they would say it would be ridiculous for me to sit there and say, in the moment, I loved it. Right? Versus an honest appraisal down the road of what we were able to see as loving for us versus what didn't serve us in our moments. Okay? That's how we can figure out what works for us or what doesn't. I love to feel beautiful. I love to feel wise. That's where most are when I connect with you on this soul vision. You're in your idea of what is beautiful already. You have nothing to change from your soul. You would be just fine wherever you are. And yet, that's the nature of what I'm going through, is this idea of wanting to expand into something else. Whether or not I know what that is, something else that I don't know. That's where I'm at. I'm not quite sure where I'm going as of yet. My soul's kind of keeping it on the down low a little bit from me. But it's a wise, wise woman that comes through with that one. Keep it on the down low, right? This is what everyone is telling somebody. Don't show who you are because you might set free those people who love to hate. That's the fear that we're working with on this plane, right? How I present to society may trigger some people. How I present to society might invoke what? Shame? I'm not here to shame you. Does the truth bother you when it comes to what's coming around the bend in the news? I have to hear from family members, not only of Trump, but of other souls that I wouldn't necessarily agree with on this plane. I've got a whole scoop on his family. And I didn't ask for it. But they're wise in their wisdom about when to hold back. Okay? I don't publicize everything that I receive. And there's a reason. I'm dealing with, and this is, I would say, and this is the most horrible thing in the world because I don't like calling people names, but if anyone on the screen can say, yeah, there are some people who are not exactly with it when it comes to the idea of disappointment and dealing with it in a respectful way. Most of us are dealing with disappointment. I have my moments of it. Not to the extent of I'm going to go harm people, or, threaten people with death or whatnot. But that's another topic for another day. Disappointment is a good one because, man, that's a vibration of beauty that we get to learn from, and I know how to handle the vision of disappointment when I shift into the beauty of who we are in this moment, okay? And then we could say, but how can I create a better future if I'm not in the present, but I'm still in the past? This is why many will reflect on that, learn the lessons, and then move on. And great days are ahead for us. You see, some people say, I don't want to reinforce the negativity in my mind, so I don't even talk about it. That's one thing. Brenda balances the negative with the positive as much as she can, but boy, is she wise in that vision. Many are getting, many are getting a charge out of the negativity. It's obviously beautiful for a lot of people. What it is it's a moment of reflection on who we align with in our minds most often, but we are actually in the same vibration of those that we don't, but that we place our focus on. We are vibrating with Trump when he's at his highest, is where Brenda's at. Because she gets his family most often. She doesn't vibrate with his soul necessarily because she's not really thinking a whole lot about him. She tends to just let that vision go. How many people want to know what that vision is like? To know that you're visioning with families, not just friends, not just loved ones, not just acquaintances, but those of us who know how to handle the vision of societal visions, unpacked. Okay, that's what I love doing, is unpacking the societal visions. Now, that's where I'm placing forth this idea of the truth-telling and how some people say this is the truth, and others are saying it may be the truth, but I don't see it as good. That's where the disappointment often comes in, or the hate, but it's disappointment amplified. Okay, usually that's where that nature of I need to lash out at somebody is. And those vibrations of emotions can come through Brenda's wise on that soul of how many years does it take for me to vibrate out of disappointment of who I am to my mom, right? My mom had high expectations for who I was going to be. I didn't make it in time for her passing to make it big, is where some souls go, right? My own mother, as a soul, knows how to come to me in her own way and tell me I love you no matter what. I have a great relationship with my mother on this plane. I don't demean her vision very often, but sometimes I do. It's like, oh, Mom, I don't want to take care of you anymore. That's an honesty that's hard to hear. And what it is it's a caretaking of everyone's emotional vibration that I was doing. How many, quote, empathic beings now know what that is? Okay. To do the empath vision means you would go in and actually adjust the energy. And that can be done in various ways, but many will just say, oh no, I'm going to change who I am to better suit who they think I am. Okay, I'm going to vibrate in the beauty of that vision of my mother as my love. Okay, she has her moments of shame and guilt herself, and I've worked with her in those visions. I love you. I set you free. That's where some people are. They don't want the personal antidotes. They want to know where they themselves can grow in those visions of who we are. So that was what I had to do. I had to set my own soul free from the vibration of I'm people pleasing in order to get a better outcome. For who? This is what many start to wake up out of. I'm holding myself back for the nature of others who don't want to see me for who I really am. I'm violent in my mind, correct? I used to be at some point. Not in the sense of to everyone, but I've had my moments of it in my mind, and I had it brought back to me again. It's why you shift into different ideas about how to learn how to deal with the emotions that we're freeing ourselves from. We have to free ourselves from various ideas that the emotions are somehow a gauge of who we are. They are typically reactive states to some stimuli, those negative emotions. We're having a negative or see how that's a label? It's just a reaction to a stimuli. How that works out is dependent upon what's at play. Okay? And this is why we want people to understand that when people say, I have the truth in hand, unless it is a very obvious data reflection point that people are working with, truth can be very subjective. Now, if we're trying to see what's coming up versus is this the reality of where we are, that's where Brenda specializes again. What's really going on in this world, or what's really happening when there is a disaster perhaps, or when there is some other vision of what those souls are working on and why things happen the way they do. And it can be a disappointing session for some people to say, oh my gosh, I would want to know why things are happening. Some things are just meant to be. I don't get every school shooting's reasons, other than we know where we're vibrating out of with that nature. Or I don't get every natural disaster that comes through. But there's a reason in those locales or with those souls that things are happening. If it hits the news, it's most likely meant to happen. It's already been discovered on a soul level. That means that I'm not here to try to prevent the next disaster. Otherwise, I would hear about the details in more details versus this is just coming and those souls are being respected for the wishes in which they were granted. This is what is the most disturbing thing for so many people. I had my pain of it when I first encountered that idea of it, of why we create what we create as souls, why we create exit points for us. We come in, we leave, and we come back again. It depends on the nature of your belief system. And so I'm not trying to dissuade anyone from having their beautiful beliefs of here and there. It's just that some of us are traversing time and space in various ways. And it can be a little disjointing for some of us. Others who don't know that that's what we're doing are being accused of being mentally ill or whatnot. Okay? And that's why I tend to always say, give me my proof and my future comes to me. And that's how I know I'm still very much grounded in this plane. Okay? I have no mental health issues. I went through an awakening process that was very unique and very disturbing in some ways because I set myself up for some very hard lessons. But not everyone has to. And so that's why I want to encourage everyone to love who they are wherever they are and go to the vision of either my highest vision is of love only, right? Or I myself am loved and adored by whoever crosses my path. That's where I tend to go. I have some hard hitters every once in a while because of the nature of my rejection of certain souls as of love, right? No, I know they're of love. I just don't agree with them on how they say they want to love. Let's put it that way, okay? Very few people will start to understand the nature of what we need as honest communication about what is loving for us, how we treat ourselves, how we treat our others. Our loved ones will always understand once they've crossed over. We don't have to fear their visions. Brenda gets annoyed sometimes because she's like, I don't want to hear anymore. I already know I'm loved and adored. And I know I'm disappointing myself in this moment. So take heed. You all are doing beautiful wherever you are. If you are not feeling up to snuff in some way, as I am in this moment, because I had a rough moment for myself not too long before coming on, and it was just a disagreement, I want to say, it's okay, let it go. Open up your hearts to the nature of wisdom revealed. That's a beautiful soul vision for many when they hear the wisdom of the moment and they can see it for what it is, not what they want it to be. Okay? I love you. I want you all to remember, stay curious, wise, and soulful. Have a wonderful day.